Hello everybody, and a warm welcome to you all. I'm so excited to have you with me today. We're going to go on a wonderful floral journey. We're going to look at lots of different flowers, lots of different foliage. My theme today is called Would You Believe It? And it's wood as in knock on wood. I am a bit of a factoholic, so when I decided to choose this theme, I did a lot of research. And the first design I want to create for you today, I'm paying homage to the humble wheel. So what I've done is I have a ring that's been secured to my wooden wheel. And as you can see, so that you don't have to watch paint dry, I have already greened it up a little bit. We've got a choice of foliages here. One of my absolute favourites is this one, the Asparagus umbellatus. Fabulous foliage, and I have treated this with hairspray to ensure that it doesn't molt. Just a nice little trick for you to be able to use it. I've also got some of this, which is arbutus, the strawberry tree. So I'm just wanted to get a variety of textures and forms in the design. So as I say, started it before we came on air so that you don't have to sit and watch greening up too long. Now the ring is full, and obviously the asparagus is giving us a really fluffy outline. I have to say I affectionately call it Nina's fluff. Now I've also got a bit of Pittosporum tenifolium, and I thought we can just have a couple of those in here just to give us a little bit of, again, a different form, shiny. So again, it gives us that luxurious feel. Now this, of course, could be a table centre, or if you really wanted to, you could hang it on your door and just put a hanging ribbon on it. And wouldn't that be impressive for your guests when they arrive to see something beautiful hanging on your door? A really lovely welcome. Now, flower-wise, I thought let's go all out and impress, be it guests, friends or family. So I've got this beautiful Cymbidium orchid, a yellow tone. I thought that's a colour that's very welcoming, and it will give us a beautiful pep and really stands out against all that lush green foliage. Now, did you know that the very first wheel that's ever recorded was in Mesopotamia? And that's about 3,500 years ago. And it was actually a potter's wheel. So that is the first one that's ever been recorded. Now, then we have to fast forward a little bit, and we're coming to China. And they invented the very first wheelbarrow. So that was about 220 AD. So I'm just putting these luscious orchids all around, and I'm just going to hold it up so that you can see how it's all coming together. And that yellow, really sunny, and is going to offer us such a wonderful welcome. So the wheelbarrow in China. And then, because of me and my facts, I found out that a chap called Ferris in America, for the great exposition that took place over there, he was tasked to invent something wonderful. This was at the same time as Gustav Eiffel had just got the world talking about his Eiffel Tower. And the Americans were a bit miffed that the world's attention was pointing to France and this incredible thing that Gustav had created. So Mr. Ferris came up with the Ferris wheel. And it really was an incredibly popular creation. And people came in their thousands to go up and enjoy a ride. Now, the UK did not want to be left behind, so only a couple of years later, there was an exhibition happening in London, so they decided that they need to do the same thing. We need to have a beautiful wheel to take people up and bring the crowds to London. Well, they did. They came in their thousands and thousands. And there's one particular evening that I want to talk about, and that was in 1895. And we had a lot of people enjoying a late evening ride on this Ferris wheel. And suddenly, lo and behold, it got stuck. And people were left dangling in midair all night long. Now this, as you can imagine, was not really very good publicity at all. So come the morning, when they finally were able to get the people back down again, management decided that they had to sweeten the experience a little bit. So anybody who had been stuck all night was offered £5 in compensation. Now you think back to then, that was equivalent of several months' worth of salary. So what happened then? The next day, because word had got round that this wheel had the mishap and people were given this amazing amount of money. So the next day, when all the workers came to open everything up, they found about 11,000 people patiently queuing through the streets of London, waiting to get on to the Ferris wheel. Now I'll just show you how those orchids are now displayed right through the ring. And I just also wanted to add a different flower form. So I've got these very pretty spray roses. Again, the yellow, slightly deeper yellow. So they are harmonizing with the orchids, but just giving us a bigger pep. So just imagine all those people hoping that the London wheel was not going to run smoothly and was going to break down, and that they too were going to be given £5. Now you can imagine that the owners were exceedingly worried that day that the same thing was going to happen, and much to their relief, the wheel never broke down again, and all those people who had decided to come and be on it did not get that little bonus that they were so very much hoping for. So I'm nearly come to the end of producing my wheel to pay homage to the wonderful invention that is a wheel. And whilst you look at this beautiful ring, I just want to leave you with another wheel fact. Now, did you know that if you tot up all the numbers on a roulette wheel, that comes to 666? Right, ladies and gentlemen, let's move on. And would you believe it? I'm going to create a design in a container that is synonymous with the county that I live in. I live in East Sussex, and this, ladies and gentlemen, is a Sussex trug. Now, a trug used to be called a trog, and it goes back to the Saxon days when they used this vessel. It was extremely heavy. You really could not move it at all. And for many, many, many years, they kept having it and using it in agricultural situations, etc. But gradually, because it was hewn from one solid piece of timber, it was so heavy that in the end, they kind of gave up on it and the trug disappeared. Now we have to fast forward to 1840, and in Sussex we have a chap by the name of Thomas Smith. Now he came and lived in Hurstmansue. Now, a lot of you will know Hurstmansue because it is where the observatory is. Anyway, he saw drawings of this Saxon trog, and he felt that it really was a very, very useful piece. So he kind of reinvented it. I have been placing some Pittosporum into my bowl here, the basket, very low, keeping them just at the base. What I'm going to create for you today is a design that's called a faux hand tie. Now, I have got these amazing carnations, Dianthus, if you want to use the Latin name. Now, this one, it really is a most amazing flower. Can you see that gorgeous lilac tone? And then you have a center which is actually coming pink. So really, really unusual. So I want to give my trug a very luscious feel. So we're going to have these coming through. Now what I'm doing is, I said to you, I'm creating what's known as a faux hand tie. And it means that all the ends that you've chopped off before you've put your flowers into the design, you're holding on to them. And I'm just going to put one more in, and then I'm going to show you what I mean. So I've got some of the stems, and I'm just chopping them off, and I'm going to place them over on this side. So this is going to be quite a trick, because nobody's going to realise what's going on when the design is finished, because you're hiding your mechanics, and they won't understand. They will literally assume that all the flowers are just lying in the basket. So it's a little bit like the Edwardian lady who used to go for a walk bottom of her garden, collecting all her beautiful flowers. The same thing is going to happen now, that it simply is going to look like they're just literally lying down at the bottom of the trug. So a little bit of a trick. So can you see a few more coming through there? And of course the flowers, all of them facing the same way. That is the important thing that you've got to make sure you do. So as I said, Thomas Smith, he started making the new trug, if you like, and living where he did, he had two types of tree available to him. He had the sweet chestnut, and he also had willow. Now, cricket fans amongst you may be aware that Sussex willow is allegedly the best type of willow to use in cricket bats. So if it comes from Sussex, then you know it's a good one. I don't play cricket, so I don't know, but I am pretty sure that people are correct when they say that. So what he did was, using those types of wood, it meant that he had suddenly a much lighter basket. So he trialled it. I'm putting in some Griselinia littoralis from my garden. It's a variegated form, so it adds a bit of lightness to the design, putting it through on the sides here. So as I say, Thomas made a few prototypes of his new trug, and he trialled them on friends who lived nearby. Now they totally fell in love with it and were very, very impressed. And this in turn made Thomas very confident that he was on to something special. So he decided to take his trugs up to London. Now this is at the time of the Great Exhibition. So he trudged up from Sussex all the way to London with lots of trugs. And he then had a stand and he started selling them. Now just picture this humble chap from Sussex. There he is, standing, hoping to sell some. And yes, a few people did come and were quite impressed, so he was very, very happy. And then suddenly, who comes to his trug stand. None other than Queen Victoria herself. Now that is just kind of mind-blowing, isn't it? To think that your queen comes to you and takes an interest in what you're doing. Well, she was so impressed. We've always been told that Queen Victoria was a keen gardener. Personally, I kind of find it difficult to visualize that she did the gardening herself, and maybe I'm doing her a disservice. But we know that Osborne House on the Isle of Wight was her favourite palace, and the gardens there are very beautiful indeed. I've just interspersed a little bit of foliage coming through to sort of nestle amongst all those flowers. And I did want to add a few more just to make it extra special. And I've got these roses. I mean, look at them. Absolutely incredible, fabulous lilac colour. And look at the stems. I mean, they are just something else. This one is called dolcetto, which is pudding in Italian, if you speak the lingo. So I'm going to have just a couple of these coming through the basket so that we just get, as I say, a very sumptuous design. So Thomas absolutely flabbergasted that Queen Victoria took note and wanted to use his new invention. Well, in fact, she was so impressed that she ordered several dozen that particular day. And in fact, she carried on and ordered trugs from Thomas all the way till she died. And because she was so impressed, she gave him a royal warrant. And to this day, the only trugs that that are sold in Sussex with the royal warrant are the ones by Thomas Smith and his family. So can you see how those roses now are coming through as well? So everything is looking very natural. And these are exceedingly prickly, the dolcetto roses. So I'm trying to be very, very careful when I'm sticking them into this side to ensure that I don't get thorns in my fingers. And just to add a little bit of lightness amongst those flowers, I've also got some limonium, which is dried. So obviously it lasts and lasts and lasts. And I have chosen this lilac shade so that it again harmonizes with all the flowers that have been placed into our trug. And as I say, they will last forever because they already have dried. And that's a plant that you can easily grow in your garden. Just going to put a couple more towards the front at the coming through. So if I just show you, he needs to go down a little bit. There you go. So can you see how it's like a filler flower, so it helps to add lightness in your design. You could use gypsophilia, of course, as well, but I just wanted to try a colour to harmonise with what I've already got in my trug. So one more over there. And just to complete my design, I'm going to place a leaf across here. Put it in there like that. And then we've got a pretty bow. So I thought we could have the bow coming through as well, just to really fool whoever you might consider giving this design to, because they're just not going to realise what you have done. They're going to think that all the flowers are just lying in the basket, whilst in fact you are giving them a water source. So that is my homage to the humble Sussex trug. Right, we're moving on the wooden theme, and I just thought, let's just work on a small piece of driftwood that I brought home from the beach. Kidding, of course. I purchased this one, so it's not picked off a beach. But what a beautiful shape and form, and the colour as well. So I wanted to pay homage to driftwood and create a design. Now I'm going to start by using a really gorgeous shrub that grows in my front garden. And this is a Pittosporum. And some of you will say, oh no it isn't, I know what Pittosporum looks like. Yes, you do. There are several Pittosporums. We have the one that you are more familiar with, the tenuifolium, which is smaller leaved and really delicious and very nice to use. This one, promise you, it is a Pittosporum, and it's called Tobira. And I just think it's an absolute knockout shrub to have in your garden. I've just placed a few on this side so you can see. I mean, just look at that. Absolutely gorgeous globes. It almost looks like a flower. And glossy, evergreen. I mean, what's there not to like? It really is a super, super shrub. Grows like a hedge, so you can very quickly and easily keep pruning it. Because of my wood, I wanted to harmonize with the color. So I have got this Grisselinia, which has been dyed. So the underside, I mean, Grisselinia, we all know, it's quite an insignificant little shrub, not that exciting, but when it's dyed, that's when it comes into its own, because the underside is suddenly picking up the colour. And I chose, as I say, an orange hue because I just want to try and harmonise with those beautiful tones that I've already got in my driftwood. So Grisselinia, I grow it in my garden, but this one is bought because obviously it has been commercially dyed. A little bit more of the Tobira just at the top, and I'm pointing it out, and you will note that I've used the floret holder and secured that on a hook and making a long design that way. So what else can we put in? A little bit more of the foliage, and because I wanted to keep the Pittosporum theme, I've also got some of the normal tenuifolium, and this one is called Gold Star. Again, grows in my garden, and a little bit of variegation in the leaf, so it does make it very fresh and beautiful looking in a design. So I'm placing these on the opposite side to the other Tobira, just to give us a little bit of contrast. So can you see smaller leaves? So totally different styles from the same family. Now we have a handle up here on our floret, and I want to hide that. And quite often there are things that you might wish to hide. So what I'm going to do is use the humble aspidistra leaf, take off most of that stalk, and I'm going to turn it sideways so that you can see a little bit better. And what I'm going to do is literally turn that, and then I'm going to pierce through, and I'm going to hold it there against the top so I can see where my handle is, and then you heard it go crunch, and can you see, voila, the handle has disappeared ever so quickly. So just one leaf has done the trick. To just harmonise, I'm going to do the same at the base of my floret holder, just so that it looks a little bit more uniform. So again, holding the leaf, if I just turn it sideways so you can see, holding it, turning it, and then impaling it and coming through, voila. You've got a little bit of enclosed space, which is always good in Nafas designs, so both on the top and also on the bottom of that. Now, flower-wise, I wanted something quite special for my driftwood, and I've got these absolutely exquisite roses. Now, I'm very fortunate to be involved with brides for weddings, etc. And so often I would really, really love if my bride chose this fabulous rose. It's even got a scent to it. Now, unfortunately, in all the years that I've been doing weddings, so far I have not managed to get any bride to choose this glorious flower. Now you might wonder, why is that? Well, I shall tell you. The reason, probably, this beautiful rose is called Miss Piggy. Now can you imagine a bride serenely gliding down the aisle with her father or whoever is giving her away and having this rose, and of course she won't want to tell anybody at the reception when they start asking, because it's called Miss Piggy. Now what a shame, because it really is such a beautiful rose, so maybe another name would have been more prudent. I'm saving this one because opened up a little bit more, trying to put that a little bit more towards the center of my design. I'm just going to turn around so you can see what's happening. Trying to create sort of a diagonal line going through. Now the floret holder is leaking a little bit, so I'm just going to wipe that off. So Miss Piggy, beautiful, beautiful rose, but not perhaps everybody wants to use her on their big wedding day. Now, to harmonize with that rose, I've also got some very beautiful hypericum berries. This one is a peach one, because again, we want to try and harmonize with those colors that we've got in our design. That one is so beautifully plump, isn't it? So we're going to have a few of those coming through. I'm just going to put them in before I spin it round. And whilst I put these in, I thought I'll give you a couple of driftwood facts. Now, hailing from Scandinavia as I do, I thought I will share with you a Scandinavian driftwood fact. Now, the Norse god Odin, he was walking on the beach one day with his two brothers, Vili and Ve, and they suddenly saw two pieces of driftwood. Now, they pulled them out from the water, and one of them was made from ash. So Odin looked at that and he thought, okay, I know what I'm going to do with this. And that particular piece of wood he turned into the first man, and he called him Ask. I'll just show you how those hypericum berries are coming through the design. So harmonizing with those roses again. So the second piece of wood that they found was actually made from elm. So he looked at that for a little while and then turned that into the first woman, and he called her Embla. Now, the weird thing is that we got Ask with an A, and we got Embla with an E. So you've got Adam and Eve as far as the initials go. So there is a little bit of trivia for you to do with driftwood. cut. That one is no good, he's falling off. Right, so, okay. Right, so you can see now how the design is taking shape with this beautiful piece of driftwood. I think it's a female form, so I think this driftwood should be called Embla, don't you? What else can we put in? I wanted to pep it up with a little bit of green as well, and I've got these spray chrysanthemums, and you won't believe it if I tell you the name of these. You remember what the rose is called? We have Miss Piggy, don't we? And guess what? This beautiful spray chrysanthemum is called Kermit. So we had to have him to go with our Miss Piggy, didn't we? And can you see, just put a couple in, how that green is a really fresh colour to put in amongst the slightly deeper colours of the foliages that we have. So they are very long-lasting flowers, easily, readily available, so you can get hold of them in florists, supermarkets, flower markets, no problem at all. So we'll put another one in there, just to give us that. And I wanted to add an extra little thing to the design. So I have a wicker ball, which I have attached a wire to. And I just wanted a little bit of lightness to come in to the design. I'll show you how that just lifts the centre a little bit more. I've just got a couple more of the chrysanths to place nearby, and then our homage to driftwood will be complete. So ladies and gentlemen, this beautiful driftwood, I hope you will feel, has been enhanced by this asymmetrical design that I've just created in tints and tones that are hopefully enhancing the wood even more. Right, we're going to move on with our wooden facts. Now, did you know that nearly half of the wood harvest in the whole world is made into paper? And that got me thinking that I want to create a design that features paper. So what I've got here is some corrugated paper, and what I've done is I have hot glued it onto a metal wreath ring. But before I did that, I covered my paper in this sort of two-tone wool. Wool these days, you get it in all sorts of shades and triple, quadruple colours, all wonderful. So I was just going round and over and under the corrugated paper, and then I just decided to add some wooden little flowers as well, just for fun. The frame inside, as you can see, I've crisscrossed some bullion wire. It just gives me a little bit of a grid, because what I want to do is create a hand-tied bouquet which literally nestles inside this collar that I've made for it. And just to assist me when I get going, I have some wires that I have secured to the 5 uprights that you've got on your ring as well. So what we'll do is start by placing something in towards the centre. And I've got this luscious looking Dracaena that I just felt that would add a real pop of colour. So I just want to have that. And then we're going to place some chrysanthemums in here as well. And I'm using the Anastasia, and this particular one is called Anastasia White. And I'm literally popping them through And you could literally let go like that. And can you see that the grid that I've already created is holding everything in place? So we'll just carry on putting some of those chrysanths in. I think I'm going to introduce one more of those dracaenas because I really like the sort of texture that it's bringing in, and also, of course, the colour. So these colours, you can make a variety of different sides to it, if you like. So for example, for Christmas, I've done it with orange slices. You could do apple slices. So many different ideas to put in there. I'm introducing another flower. We've got the little Gemini. This one is called, oops, he's come right through. This one is called Albino, and it's the one that has the lovely cream centre so that it harmonises beautifully. I'm going to block them and put several together to create a little bit more impact. But you can see what's happening here. It's a design that you want to look into, so it's important, and if you wanted to display it, perhaps put it in the fireplace on the floor so that it's nice and low and you're just looking into that. But a really wonderful thing to give to somebody as a gift as well. Just not the normal hand ties perhaps that you would have, and of course you can then tell the recipient that you have created this collar yourself, so you're going to get even more brownie points. I've got a few of the light carnations as well, just keeping the colours very muted instead of clashing too much. And they will obviously open up more and become much bigger. But it gives you this idea of what to create. And because we have a bit of blue in our collar, I have got some gorgeous grasses which I dried in the summer, and now I've given them a little whoosh with some flower spray just to create a bit of harmony. Those two are wanting to pair off together, so I'm going to just pop that one, try and get it right through here so that he breaks up a little bit of the heavy foliage that we've got with the dracaena. And I'll put another one on the other side. But can you see how that's adding a little bit of lightness, but at the same time tying in with your collar, but not too heavy at all. And again, let's break up a few on this side. And because it's a grass, it's so nice and thin that you can very easily pop it through. Got one more here. I think we're going to have him on this side, and then finish off with a few more of the flowers just to make this a really luxurious bouquet. Obviously, if you don't want to use so many flowers, you'll just use a smaller wreath ring, and then you'll end up with a much smaller design. And I've also decided to take that blue theme one step further, and I also have sprayed my Craspedia a blue tone. So again, they're just going to add a little bit of fun to the design. These, of course, are billy buttons, the common name, but if you wanted to give it the Latin, then Craspedia is what it is. And the colour, of course, is yellow, but they lend themselves to spraying very easily, and they last sprayed as much as they do being in their natural form. So it's just giving you an idea to create something slightly different. And of course, you could go that one step further, and when you give this to a friend, you can also buy them a beautiful vase and then pop it into the vase and give them the whole thing in one go. So you've finished off with the cutting of the stems, and then take some floral tape. I tend to use floral tape to tie my bouquets together. I find like the paper covered wire can be a little bit damaging on the stems, so I prefer using just the tape to tie that together. But can you see a homemade collar that you can really impress your family and friends with, and just fill it with a whole host of wonderful goodies. Right, we're moving on to another design. This is, I call it Nina's TV. But it is a design, as you can see, the frame is surrounded by this beautiful bamboo. And before any of you says, hang on a minute, Nina, you're getting your facts wrong. Bamboo is not wood. I know it isn't. I know it's a grass. But the reason I'm including it in my Would You Believe It designs is because it's the fastest growing grass, but it's also one that diversifies into a forest. So I'm stretching the truth a little bit here. So I've got a double tray at the base here, and inside I've used the Oasis Noir, and I have also put on some little yellow stones because I'm going to be using a little bit of different colours. And what I'm going to do is create hopefully a very modern, funky design. I've got this beautiful, beautiful Choicea ternata. This one is called Sundance. It grows in my garden. It is quite a new plant, so I'm trying to be very sort of careful that I don't give too much of a haircut, because it might not like that so much. But it really is an amazing foliage because it's so vibrant. And of course, it looks extremely bright and yellow when it's first growing. So I'm just having a couple of them in here. Now, when you use this black Oasis, which is called Oasis Noir, the whole point of it is that you actually want to see some of it in your design. The purpose is not to cover it all up. So can you see now how a little bit of the Choicea is, I'm going to move him because I want to put him at the front there next to the other one, just adds a vibrancy against the black as well. What else? Well, I thought we need a little bit of height, so I've got these beauties for you. Now that, of course, is a liatris, an unusual flower in as much as it slowly opens up from the top and slowly goes down. So it's completely opposite for how normally you would expect a flower. So we're going to have a couple of them dancing towards the back of the design here. And a beautiful fresh purple colour. And as I say, so unusual the way it grows. So we'll have a few of those coming across, and another maybe just towards the front, and the last one, let's have him there. So you can see now how they've created a nice dancing rhythm across our design. Next, I thought, let's just carry on with these funky, fun billy buttons. You've seen that I have sprayed them. All sorts of things you can do with these. But in this instance, I want to keep them in their normal colour. So some of them are going to be quite short. Some of them a little bit taller. Let's put him over there. just having fun calling this a funky flower design. And let's have one there towards the middle, and then we'll have a few more shorter ones. Have one amongst the foliage, and let's look at the last one. Let's put him there. So they're kind of harmonizing with the liatris, aren't they? You've got these beautiful uprights going straight across. And then I thought, I'm sure you would like to see some really, really unusual flowers. Many of you will probably never ever seen this variety before because it is very, very special. And I've managed to get hold of quite a few. So these are my very special flowers. Now, some of you will be laughing by now and saying, she's gone completely loopy-loo. And perhaps I have. Because, of course, these are not flowers at all, are they? I'm totally fibbing. What I'm created with these, it's actually an aspidistra leaf. And I have manipulated it to create these unusual shapes and forms. Let's just put in another one over here and that one as well. Where should we have him? I think we'll have him a little bit towards the back. Now, many of you at this point will say, well, I don't know. I've never seen anything like that. How on earth did Nina create her aspidistra flowers? Well, lucky, I've got one with me, so I'm going to share that with you. I'm just going to turn this to the side so that you can see a little bit easier. So to create an aspidistra flower, you will need just one thing, and that is a stapler, and of course an aspidistra leaf, facing forwards. And what you're going to do is, I'm sure many of you have done this when you were little, the little angels that you made from paper, just folding it, forwards. So you've just done that, coming forwards here, and then you'll go back on yourself. So now you've folded it back. And then you turn it again and come forwards. So you're slowly concertinaing your leaf. So you go back again, forwards again, back again, forwards, back, and I'm going to leave it at that because you have a central vein here. If you go too far down, it may snap. So can you see what I've done? You've got all of those folded on that side and the same on the other side. And then take your stapler, and to the right of your central vein, you go through and staple it. I always do belts and braces, so I flip it over and do the same from the underside. So now that is holding together. And then we'll do exactly the same on this side. Staple together, flip it over again, and do the same from the other side. So now you've got your leaves stapled on either side of the central vein. And now you're going to marry this one with that one. So now you're taking those together, and from the underside, so I mean coming up from under, clip those, staple those together, and now suddenly you could do that in your design. You could actually put it low and have that almost looking like a sun. If you want to carry on to make it with the flower shape, then you're again marrying that one with that one. And again, from the underside, staple them together. And voila, there you have this funky aspidistra flower. And I'm sure many of you use aspidistras and you know how long they last. So it is a wonderful, wonderful plant material to have. And I'm just going to stick him in between a little bit towards the back so that we've got them at different heights. And then, many moons ago at Blackpool, I got hold of some reeds. Michael Boyer actually used them in one of his designs, and I thought they looked really lovely. You know how you are. You buy all these things and you think one day it's going to come in handy, and then you never use it again. So I've had these since 2015 sitting in my workshop, and now suddenly when I thought up of this design, I thought, hang on a minute, I could use these wonderful reeds which have been dyed red and just put them in to create a bit of vavavoom in this very funky modern style design. So let's put them all around, and I'll turn and I'll do some from the back here as well. So it's drawing your eye through the design, making you look through. 2 more there. How many have I got left? 2 left. Let's put them peeping out here behind the choice here. So suddenly you've just added something funky and different to go with all this modern stuff. And then the final flower I want to introduce is the Gloriosa lily, because I think they are so beautiful, so special. They deserve to be shown, and I think in a design like this, they're going to really come into their own. So I'm just going to dot them about so that they really stand out. And of course you can turn them that way, you can turn them to show the pollen. So I'm going to have him a little bit on the side, and then another one over here, just to give us that beautiful colour. And this one I'm going to turn inwards so that we're looking at the underside of it. So there is my homage to bamboo, that we all know is not a wood, it is actually a grass, but because it diversifies as a forest, I felt that I can sneakily put it into my wood theme. Right, we're moving on to more wood, and as you can see, I have this gorgeous frame that's been adapted for the design, because we have this very delicious urn that I'm using. And I just thought, when I was thinking up the wood themes, I want to do something with a frame. You know, the Dutch masters, wonderful paintings that were done showing these incredible plants that people, the plant hunters, were bringing back from foreign shores. And I'm just going to frame my frame using those phoenix palm leaves. And then I'm going to add just an aspidistra. We've been through that before, showing you how to take away some of the stem and just place it against, if I turn it you can see, place it against the foam and then impale it, and now you're not having to look at that rear view, as it were, looking boring. Then I thought, let's put in a little bit of Nina's fluff. I just like the asparagus fern, and this particular one, the umbellatus, just gives us quite an airy feel. You can almost see me through these beautiful palm leaves as well, and that is just fluffy and light, because I want to create a little design redolent of those Dutch master paintings that we are so familiar with. Now, did you know that many moons ago, the earliest frame that they have found was actually inside an Egyptian tomb, and it had the picture of the pharaoh in the frame, so still hanging in there from the 2nd century. I'm using again a Chamaerops palm, just a different shape and form, clipped some of the, because this one is quite large, so I'm just holding it together, chopping off the tops just to make it a little bit smaller, and just keeping the shape and form more or less on par. And here is going to be a little bit more towards the back, again framing the frame. Now Vincent van Gogh, he once said that a picture without a frame is like a soul without a body. And I think that's quite a wonderful thing to say. So can you see what I'm doing with those chamaerops? Just in different areas, creating interest. So what else can we put in? The light dracaenas will just add a different colour to the design. So we're going to have a couple of them. Now those Dutch master paintings, the reason they obviously did them was because they wanted to show off. At great expense, they sent off these plant hunters to come back with an array of plants, Dracaena probably included. And of course, they needed people to see what they had discovered. So doing the painting meant that it was going to be there for posterity, for everybody to enjoy. And if I say seasonality went out the window, you'll know what I mean. Because they were painted in oils, which takes a long time to dry, of course it meant that they simply could not do everything very quickly. It had to be done over a long period of time, which meant that the flowers wilted, so they went out and got something else. I just wanted to include one Monstera deliciosa, because they've just discovered this amazing leaf and they've brought it back to the UK, and everybody's oohing and eyeing at this amazing leaf. This one is a small one, so you can imagine what size they can be. What else? Well, I thought we need to bring an exotic flower, and how about this as a bit of a star? Now this, of course, is an anthurium, and this white one is called Adina. And they really are incredible. And can you imagine when the plant hunters first came home with something like this? It must have been absolutely amazing to suddenly see something so weird. They didn't really know what on earth it was. And of course, the anthurium, usually when you buy them, they come with a little bag to protect it, because that is the flower. This is the spathe, and if you touch that, it will discolour. And that is why they come in those little bags, just to keep them nice and fresh. So we're going to have another one here, because these are prize specimens, so we don't have too many of them. But they are really quite sort of alien looking, aren't they? Some people, it's a bit of a love or hate, and I have to confess, many moons ago I did not used to like them, but these days I find that I think they're really, really special, and I do like using them in the designs. So we'll have another one, because we are a rich family who've sent our plant hunter out, and we're going to have a dinner party, and we're really going to show off all these amazing plants that came back home. So we'll have a few of them there. And then, of course, when it was a Dutch master, all sorts of colours play a part. And I thought, why don't we have a few Viburnum opulus as well? A beautiful flower that gives us a sort of hanging effect, because obviously the flowers are dangling, as it were, and they're mixing in with the greenery there. So can you see? So Viburnum opulus is like the snowball bush, but this is the lime green variety as opposed to the white one. And we'll just have a couple more coming across towards the front, just drawing our eye from top to bottom. Now there's a lady who lives in Dubai. No, she doesn't, I'm lying. She lives in the United Arab Emirates and she collects frames. We've all got different hobbies, haven't we? Fair enough. But this lady, she collects empty frames, and at last count she had 2,214 empty frames. Not quite sure why you wouldn't want to put something in them. Going back to Dubai that I mentioned, because I got my facts mixed up, in Dubai they recently opened an area where they've put a ginormous frame, and if you look through the frame you can see new and old Dubai all at the same time. Right, a couple more unusual flowers. Got this gorgeous chrysanthemum. Now this one is very special, and this one is called Rossano Charlotte, and this one came out to honour the birth of Princess Charlotte. So the Dutch growers wanted to mark the occasion, and they came up with this beautiful, beautiful pink and slight lime green tinge to it as well. So what a homage to pay to a new princess when she was born. So I've just put those two in for now, just to show you. And of course chrysanthemums came across from the Far East, so again they were very unusual and caused quite a stir when the plant hunters brought them back. I think we're going to have one more just towards the centre, slightly set him back a little bit so that we see him, but he's slightly set back inside. And I said that the colours tend to be mixed as much as the seasons. So we're going to add some of these very delicious Geminis. This one is called Caprice, Aqua Caprice, and a really bold colour, which hopefully amongst some of the greenery is going to make the arrangements sing and look very much like how those Dutch masters with all the various specimens were put together. We'll have another one right at the back, going off a little bit back as well. Try not to always face your flowers in the same direction. Sometimes a little bit of the underside can be quite interesting to see as well, not always having them all pointing in the same direction. So just turn that around so you can see what's going on. I've got one more hiding in my box, so we can definitely put one in. I think we'll have him, where shall we put him? A little bit towards the back, in the middle. So again, you're looking through to see the colour. And because I wanted another unusual flower as a specimen, we've got this very unusual rose. This one is called Red Eye, and very, very much a bit of a flower that really causes a stir whenever people see it, because it is so unusual the way it grows, and as you can see in the centre, and then having the petals all around. So again, because we're having our master, we need to put in some unusual flowers to really wow our audience. And we'll do one more, putting it a little bit towards the front. Very thick stems, as you can see, so having to be careful placing them into a design. But again, can you see how trying to concentrate them a little bit towards the center to draw your eye in. And then just a bit of trailing material, and I've chosen the Asparagus setaceus, which is a trailing form of asparagus fern. And we've obviously already got the umbellatus in there, which looks a bit more like a mini tree. And now we've just got this one coming through to just add a little bit of lightness. And I think one or two more of the viburnum just to complete our Dutch master. And it is a little bit throwing as much at it as you can, because that's what it's all about. But that is my take on a classic Dutch master painting.